I played Path of Exile 2. Let's talk about this. Path of Exile 2 is developed by Grinding Gears Games, or GGG if you like, and it was released on the 6th of December 2024 as early access. The game should be released from early access to full game in about a year from the release, so we can expect 2025 late December, something like that. When the game will be released, the game will be fully free to play. You will be able to play without spending any money whatsoever, but right now for getting to early access you have to spend a minimum amount of $30 to get the key and get inside the game. For those $30 you will get equivalent of 300 points that you can spend in the game in shop, that you can buy cosmetics and quality of life things like stash tabs, which are really important later on when you will be playing quite a lot. You will have a lot of currencies, a lot of things in your inventory, and you can manage them by yourself in the stash tab, right, that you have, or you can have specific stash tabs for specific currency items, for example, or gems or different things that is automatically sorted. So it's helping you quite a lot with rummaging through your inventory after every run, or when your inventory is full of loot, you can get through that quite easily with those stash tabs. So if you want to spend like 1,000 hours with the game or hundreds of hours with the game, expect to pay a little bit, because this can get really tedious. But as I said, it's a free to play. You can never get any power advantage in the game shop, so only quality of life things. What is absolute insanity is that almost hit 600,000 consecutive players on the Steam alone. There is a release for PS5 as well, so you can play it on PS or PC, and then also they have their own launcher that people would be able to win there. So who knows what was the maximum number of peak players, but just on Steam it almost hit 600,000 consecutive players, and that's just insanity. Right, that's a lot of players. Also, on top of that, the game is cross-platform and cross-progression. That means that if you start your character on PC, you can log in later on your PS and you can continue with your character, or you can play with your friends who got only PS and you got PC. You can play together, up to 6 players in one session, right? Up to 6 people in one group can play together. And on all of top of that, if you have a PS, you can play couch co-op with your friend, right? You're sitting next to each other and you can play together, which is insane. As early access, as a standard of early access release, all of those things together, that's great. That's really good. And later on in full release, it should be on the Mac as well. Right now, as early access goes, there is 6 characters that you can play. Each of the character get 2 specialization that you can, in the game later on, decide which one of those 2 you want to progress with, and the other one will be locked from this character. So we will if you want to play the other specialization, you have to go and play the game again for this character and specialize in the second one. So there is 6 characters. Each of them 2 specializations. That's 12 different classes that you can kind of play right now. On the full release, they said that there should be 12 classes, so double that, and each of the class should have 3 specializations, not 2. So there is a lot of things coming our way, and I feel that will be quite pleasant for everybody. Will find what they really want to play. Interestingly enough, with all the information we have right now, that was not what we knew about the game in the past when it was originally released, because it's supposed to be the upgrade for PoE 1. It should have been like the visual upgrade, right? The new engine and continuation of the story of PoE 1, added new classes, added new features, added new things into originally like already going PoE 1. But down in the path, when the devs just working on the game quite a lot, they realized that they are working on absolutely different thing, and it's just not upgrade of the PoE 1. It's absolutely like different game with different feel and different progressions. So they decided to go and make it like standalone game and continue support the PoE 1, and now they will be having a second game going, PoE 2. Let's go and jump into those specifics. Why is the difference, or what is the difference between those 2, and why this is so popular right now? There are kind of 2 things that I feel, or 2 two aspects they changed quite a lot, and let's jump into the first one. That's a gameplay. Obviously, when you see the game and when you compare it to other ARPGs on the market right now, the game is much slower than the competitors right now, and even the Path of Exile 1, there is a huge difference. And then especially when you play the game, you will feel immediately that it's more like slower, it's more methodical, it's more not tactical, but kind of in its own way it is. There is like the weight upon your actions. You can't just button mash everything that you have on your keyboard and hope that everything will work out. You kind of need to like dodge and apply those skills appropriately when the time is right, and especially when you are playing melee classes, I myself do, like I am playing warrior, and when you are there and you need to really watch when the attack is happening to dodge properly and punish the creature with for example stun attack, and just see that enemy is clobbering around and you are smashing it, right? It just feels so good. That slower approach is just really making you like appreciate the game a little bit more. I feel that's how I feel when I play the Path of Exile, and I had a similar feeling in the different game that was released earlier this year, and that's No Rest for the Wicked. And I feel that the Path of Exile 2 and No Rest for the Wicked are the first games that really going a different route than other ARPGs, that really like setting themselves apart with those slow methodical approach, that like Dark Souls like combat where the bosses are kind of like heavy hitting, you need to really learn the patterns, and it's so satisfying to kill them and get the loot. So gameplay wise you can expect that everything will be slower, but you will feel that you have it kind of more under control, I would say. And yeah, my opinion is it's better. It feels kind of better, but in its own way, different. One thing that I would love to add to this is the fluidity of the combat on top of everything else. Because, for example, the dodge roll that I was like talking about, that you can dodge those attacks, you can really click it every time you want and it will execute. So, for example, you are in the big swing, you want to hit him hard, but you see that he's going for his attack, you can click the dodge button and it's immediately and cancel everything you're doing and you are dodged. That feels so good. It's just play to the fluidity of the game, and you again feel that you got it under control, your character. And with combination with vast movements, all right, that you can go with the keys and not just click to move. That's really like elevated to really like different kind of game than it was Path of Exile 1, or for example Diablo 2, like that started whole this kind of away for another games similar to that. Another thing from the different approach that I feel that this game is kind of different, or it's more approachable, and why people playing it so much, and based on the charts that when you go for a Steam DB and then you will write Path of Exile 2 and you will look concurrent players, right? And you will see the chart. It's just amazing that retention of the players is insane. There is such a small dips in those valleys, right? That's the player base playing all the time, and I feel the progression of the game is really big part. Why is that? First and foremost, what I absolutely love is a lower amount of loot that you're getting. It's like you're getting lower amount of loot, but it's more significant to get it. And I feel that it's good in a few different reasons, but main one is you are not overwhelmed. You are not like you are showering by the loot, as for example in Path of Exile 1, and you immediately need to approach it with the loot filter. You are kind of needed like, all right, so I don't want to see this and that and this, and you are kind of like going into the database even though you haven't played the game at all. And with this, when something will drop, you are able to like manage to go through those items on the ground and see, oh, this is kind of cool, I like that, and then it can work for you. So the lower amount of loot and more significance of it, I feel it's a really great like thing for people to approach it different way. It will be more approachable, and people got it. They understand it right from the get-go, and they don't have to go through like several thousands of hours to understand what you really need to look for. To that is a crafting. sometimes I don't like crafting in games at all. Especially in ARPGs, I like to loot stuff and go through it because usually the loot is dropping quite a lot. So you are kind of like, yeah, I don't have time for crafting, right? You will find something better in short amount of time. You will go, and if this makes is not good enough, yeah, you will drop another one in a few seconds, and this might be better. So you never go into the crafting part of the game. When you reach the end game or almost end game, there you're like, this could be tweaked, right? This could be like done something about. But I feel that in Path of Exile 2, because you have a low amount of loot, so everything that you drop, that doesn't mean that you will drop the next piece that you need really soon. So you are like tend to go and tweak it right when you get it. And the crafting is approachable. It's like so intuitive that the currencies that you're getting is like, it kind of makes sense. Even though I didn't like the crafting in Path of Exile 1 and I had never been like, okay, let's add a resistance to it. Here, I feel like every time I drop the piece, I'm like, what can I do with it? Do I invest this currency into this? No. And every time I'm doing it, I feel like, how can I set it? Like, I get the dopamine about it because you are progressing through it, right? So for example, you will find the gray item, which is normal, right? It's a base item that is higher than your supposed to item that you have right now. And you're like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Let's invest currency into that and see if it will be better than what I actually have on me right now. And you will use currency to make it magic, and you will add one modifier. Then you can use another currency that will add one more modifier, and that's a maximum you can have. And you're like, all right, both of those modifiers are really good. That's a really good start. I like it. So you know what? Let's use a third currency that will change it to upper rarity, right? And you will apply it, and you have 3 of those modifiers. And you are like, all right, now it's yellow, now it's like rare, and you're like, oh, that was kind of bad, right? That was kind of bad roll, so you scrap it, you don't like it. And when you find another one, and so you're always going through this process that you are applying those 2, which is kind of basic, right? That you can have a lot of those currencies, and then you have those rare ones, those rare currencies that you can upgrade it even further. And this process that you going through with every single item you will get, like the decision, like, this is kind of good base, should I invest into that? Alright, you will change the magic, or you will add one modifier, and based on those modifiers you will get, you will decide if you want to invest more into that. So the dopamine play in every single item that you are crafting is just huge, and it just makes a lot of sense. It's approachable, it's easy, and it's fun. It's really good. It's simple and it's fun. That's the base of it. Another thing that I really like about Path of Exile 2 is the skills and passives. I need to get back to the Path of Exile 1 because that was the one system that I absolutely hated. If I would say one system that I hated on Path of Exile 1 was the skill gems, because before, or in Path of Exile 1, you need to spend, pick your skills that you will be using, for example, Fireball, or, I don't know, Split Shot, whatever you think as a skill, and you needed to insert those in the sockets inside your equipment. And that's just bad. I don't know, maybe you will prove me wrong why this is such a bad, great system, but I don't feel like that. In Path of Exile 2, you have that separate. You are not inserting your skills inside your equipment, but you have separate page that you are progressing through. You can add those skill gems inside that will allow you to use the spell, and then you have passive skills that augments the skill gems themselves. So for example, you will go and add modifier that will add fire damage to the attack, or you will go and have more stun buildup because you are going for that, or you will just increase damage of it, or you just increase more projectiles. And there is tons to choose from, and you are going through that, and you are picking the skills you like because you like them, and you are picking the modifiers that what you want that skill to be, and all of that together is kind of nice puzzle that you are solving. And also you are going and watching what is relying on what. For example, you want like go for the stun buildup because that's what you want to go for. Warrior, bonk everybody with really big fingers in your hand, and you will just stun them, right? And then you can freely like hit him with nothing like really bothering you. With that, for example, you can dip into the area that you will break his armor to deal him more damage. And you will find those connections that, for example, when you stun him, you will break his armor also. So those puzzles that you will solve is just great. It feels really good to find those connections between skills and passives and everything together. I'm like, oh, this makes sense, right? For example, there is a potential that you can freeze the enemy, and with other skill, you can shatter the enemy when it's frozen. So you can think of those ideas like, all right, so what can I do to increase the freezing potency of the enemies? How can I do it faster? And then how can I break them from the ice to deal him as much damage as possible? And that's the puzzle that you are solving throughout the gameplay. And I feel that's a really brilliant way how to do it, because every single aspect you are going for in the game kind of connects to those things. You have some gear, so you want that gear to approach this situation you want to solve. You have your passive trees that I will get into soon enough, and you have those skills and passives. And yeah, everything kind of correlates together and solving the problem you have before you. Also, the progression now contains the things that you are approaching in the world. You are going through the act, you have your main objective, you are going for that, but there are optional areas, optional bosses in the map that you can kill or you can solve, and that will give you another progression kind of thing. You can get more skill points, you can get more spirit that you will use for passive effects like auras and banners and stuff. You have those moments, or for example, you will find quests or you will solve the quest, and that will give you, for example, recharge on your flasks. So you are able to passively progress a little bit more through the campaign while you are solving those things. And yeah, that's fantastic. As a progression wise, that's amazing. And yeah, there is no PoE, there is no Path of Exile without big passive trees, because that's the one thing that people are quitting on. On Path of Exile 1, there is a lot of people that will start a game, get the first level, right? The first level, and they will open up the passive skill tree, and there is like 1,500 nodes. This is such a huge like tree, right? That you can go through that, and someone could be overwhelmed immediately. Be like, oh my god, this is too much. I hate it. Bye-bye. I don't care. I don't want that. I want binary decision, left or right. And this one kind of give you like so much overwhelmed like moment in when you approach it for the first time. Personally, I absolutely love it. The passive tree is one of the best ideas that Path of Exile ever put together and put before me, because it's not that hard. It's kind of not that hard, because you always have decision like exactly. Again, on the beginning, you have possibility to go right or left, nothing more. You can go one way or another, and you are progressing. Every single level, you will get the passive, and that's the beauty of the progression, right? You will get the level, and you can spend it, and you can go like this kind of treadmill that you are rewarded with those passive skills, and you can assign them, and you can progress through the tree, and you are crafting something beautiful. I think there are approaches that you need to apply for yourself to have it a little bit of simple. You have to have kind of like thought before you approach a tree. For example, you are starting warrior, and you are like, what I want to be as a warrior. Do I want to have big ass two-handed mace, or do I want to have shield and boar, like shield and mace, or two one-wielded maces, for example? Or you are playing witch, so do I want to be a frost witch or frost sorceress? Do I want to be a thunder sorceress? Or that you have some kind of thought what you would love to be as your class. And with that, you can go into the passive tree, you can select the search bar, and you can, for example, write two-handed. And every single note that is two-handed related, it will shine upon your skill tree. And you have something to aim for. because it's a little like further away. It's like 20 passive skills further, and you're like, all right, how can I get to this point? And you will just find a way how to get there and look around those clusters that are connected to the path, and you're like, oh, there is a little armor breaking. I love that. There is a stun. There is armor. Yo, I'm dying quite a lot, you know, or I am getting a lot of damage. So you know what? Pick this one on the way there, because you know I will have a survivability, and that's amazing. That's just the art of going through that and look on those sides and be like, oh my god, this is also really cool. I would love to invest into that area. How can I do that? Do I prioritize that instead of this? And yeah, you can also look on the build. Yeah, somewhere online. But for me, going through that passive tree and figure it out which way to go and what to pick next, amazing. That's a beautiful thing to do. And one tip, focus on the big ones. Just focus on the bigger nodes. Look on those. And those small ones, yeah, you will get them, you know, you will get them on the way. But those big ones, those are those crucials, right? That you want to pick firsthand. So, and before we will wrap it up, I want to mention the bosses in the Path of Exile 2 because they are incredible. They changed the pacing, how you approach the bosses, because now when you die on the boss, when you play hardcore, bye-bye, right? But when you are playing on normal difficulty or more, you can die in the game, you will never approach the boss with lower health. Because in Path of Exile 1, you went for the boss, you will start hitting him, right? And you dealt him, for example, 30% of his HP, and then you died. You return back to the boss, and the boss was hurt, so 30% lower than it was before. So you could incrementally like just smash him a few times, die, and so on and so forth, which was not really great, but you know the idea. In the Path of Exile 2, that's not the case. The boss is again full HP when you approach it second time. So you really want to approach it as like Dark Soul bosses. You want to really learn the pattern, you want to figure it out what he is doing, how can you dodge this mechanic, where you need to get back, when you need to go in, and what he is using. For example, is he a fire boss, is he a lightning boss, is he a really chunky physical boss? And based on that you can tweak things, right? For example, charms that you can use. So you will switch your charm with a lightning resistance to fire resistance, because you know, or you died on the boss and he used a lot of fire, so like, all right, let's put there a lot of fire resistance, or can I get more fire resistance for this boss fight? You will have easier time, for example. So figuring out the puzzle of the boss is a joy itself as well, and especially the spectacle of the boss. They are huge, they are interesting, and yeah, it's great to go against them and go through that. So bosses I really like in Path of Exile 2. So yeah, and that will do it for the first part of this series. I would love to go for another video in the future when I've dive into the end game more, or have a lot of experience to be able to talk about it. And right now there is only coverage of the campaign progression and what I think of the differences between those ARPGs, because I played like all ARPGs on the market. I played all of them. I was never super hardcore, right, in any RPG, that I have few hundred hours in every one of them, but I don't have like thousands of hours in Path of Exile 1, and I know every single one thing there is. And I think it's based on one thing, that when you approach the late game, or you are really deep into that, and you are just, that there is a really big treadmill you are going for, and you are just hunting for those numbers and just tweaking those small differences, and at that point I'm kind of like, yeah, that's not kind of cool anymore. What I like on Path of Exile 2, and I feel it could be different than was the other ARPGs, is the gameplay. How you approach the combat, how the feeling of the combat itself, and not just the grinding for the gear, but just the game, playing the game itself. And I would give to the same category, for example, the No Rest for the Wicked, because yeah, that's the similar approach, and I'm just super glad that there are two different companies that are going for the same idea, how to push ARPGs and the whole genre forward. Do something different, take a risk, and change the formula. Not go for the Diablo 2 is here with us 20 years, and every single game that is similar to that is going for the same things. With Path of Exile 2 and No Rest for the Wicked, I feel the first time that they are really changing the game itself. and I can't wait what to bring us, because yeah, I can't wait. With more updates, there will be more things to do and more classes to play and stuff like that. So yeah, that will do it for today. Hope you enjoy. You can check more content on the screen if you like, or you can stop by on the stream. You can find the link in the description. I'm playing the Path of Exile now, and yeah, that will do it. Enjoy your day. Stay awesome as you always are, and have a good one. That's it. Bye.